Hey guys, it's Vince. Today I'm going to do a video based on a question that gets asked to me at least 2 to 3 times a week, and it is a good question. It is, do these content creators actually mimic and copy one another? Well, I decided to do a compilation video and put all the evidence as much as possible in this video so you guys can be better informed and make that judgment yourself. Let's jump right in.
And yeah, so I think we're really on a winner with this thing. I think we're for $165 or $170 for that frame there and a couple of teething issues. Once I get this torch sorted, I've got a
All right, so my last 2 videos over the course of 2 weeks have been discussing guys, and I'm talking about content creators, who decide to put videos up where they're claiming to build ultra cheap CNC plasma systems. This guy once again is following that trend at posting a video with a title of $165 CNC plasma. Then he goes on, yes, it's that cheap and all this other crap to make it as clickbaity as possible. And we can see here he's using once again a small laser cutter's frame, and then he's using the small laser cutter's USB controller and then strapping on his plasma torch and calling that a plasma cutter. Now guys, I'm telling you right now, this is a horrible idea in the sense that, number one, the USB controller he's using is fine to use with a low power laser cutter. And the reason it is because USB is okay to be used with very low EMI generating cutting sources. It's when you start using high EMI generating cutter sources that cause problems. And a plasma torch is extremely high in that they pull between 30 to 80 amps and they can easily corrupt any 5-volt signals you have. Now USB has tons of different grounding, voltage spike, and just unstable operations dealing with Windows operating systems, from everything from the operating itself in terms of settings, if it goes into power standby, to once again how your PC is grounded. Thinking about this and thinking about him creating this unit for himself, that's fine. If you want to build something for yourself in the form of a contraption and say that this is a regular plasma cutter, no one's going to give you any hard time with that, let alone me. I want you to save money. I want you to do it in the right, safest fashion. But if you're going to post videos like this, where other people are going to mimic what you're doing, because again, we know with that clickbaity title, $165, that's what everyone is going to click on. First of all, you're not even telling the audience the truth because you never include the price of the torch, which means you don't really have a CNC plasma robot. What you actually are selling is the laser cutter's frame and its controller. That's it. They never want to tell you the full story, because if they tell you the full story, they know you're not going to click on it. Nor is this guy going to tell you how many issues he's had with this unit to get it to perform on camera somewhat stable so he can get there. Now, the thing is, his might actually perform stable. We'll never know the truth, but here's the big thing. Are you willing to risk your $165 on top of the cost of your plasma torch to actually sit here and play with this and hope your unit is stable? Many of you that come to me already know that answer to that question. But for those of you who are novice, and that's what this video is for, you have to ask yourself, where is my investment the safest? These content creators don't have YouTube stores. They don't have any type of eBay stores. They don't have any type of support. The only thing they do is post what affiliates they're selling, and then they hope that you buy that, and then there's no link to them. So it's very easy to look at this and say, well, is this guy doing the same thing others are doing? Let's move on. We'll continue this journey, but I'm telling you right now, it's very interesting to see how these guys think. And once you understand that, and you understand that their best interest isn't necessarily yours, I think it really opens up a lot of eyes to where you can go with this genre. Because once you start spending money on these ultra cheap machines, most of the time, that's just the start. It doesn't end there. You're going to have to either rebuild the machine or keep reinvesting to hopefully get it stable to some degree so that you can perform your cuts.
With the box. So there'll be a spreadsheet. It'll tell you that wire 1 gets cut to 22 inches long and it goes from pin 1 on the controller to pin 2 on the stepper driver for the Z-axis.
Well, we can see the content creator is once again doing the very fast build, and we can hear him speaking in the background. And of course, he never addresses the proper grounding, the proper double shielded cable. This enclosure's plastic. How do you ground a plastic enclosure? None of it is discussed, on top of him using a USB motion controller. Once again, we just saw the previous content creator and his design, and now we see this design. Very, very similar, huh, guys? And again, this person, the voice you hear, this is the guy that's releasing these plans with these controllers. I could care less about the mechatronics of the system. And for my novice guys out there, that's the frame. A lot of these guys think that because they can build the frame, the actual moving gantry and the axis that make up the CNC plasma system, that the controller is easy. That there's nothing to the controller. We've played it in different videos. It's silly. It's complete asinine thinking. There's no logic. And once again, if you build the motion controller incorrectly in terms of it not being properly grounded, using the proper double shielded cables to mitigate EMI, ferrites where required, passive filtering are required where you can't use double shielded cable, you are highly, highly susceptible to EMI penetration leading up to the paperweight, and that's what I'm going to call it from now on. And what I call the paperweight means the robot's unstable. And the thing to keep in mind that these guys never cover because they don't understand it is just because the robot's stable for a short period of time, when you get the paperweight, it happens randomly. That's why EMI is so detrimental. That's why it costs you so much time / money. And that's why these guys never discuss it, because they truly don't understand it. They can't tell you when your system is going to become unstable. They can only say that, oh, well, it ran good for this amount of time, or I've just got to conquer this problem. Well, guess what? When the system is unstable and you put whatever substrate you want on there, you never know when it's going to screw up. Are you willing to invest your money for that? Because to me, that's like just sitting there and gambling and playing the lotto.
And it'll tell you, so you just cut the wire to length, strip it, put it in the box. Go to wire 2, cut it to length, strip it, put it in the box. So it'll be very simple to make that. Then we can give you the total. That'll also include the total length of wire needed to build this here.
All right, I want to address something that has come up in previous comments, only a few. I don't know where it comes from, but certain people out there think that for some reason I'm jealous of this person for creating a system like this. And the fact of the matter is, I'm actually on the opposite end. I have clients that come to me, potential clients until they're my client, and then they come to me and they have to rebuild their controller because of gentlemen like this. I don't sell plasma systems at all. I don't sell plasma plans. And when I say systems, I do not sell the mechatronics. The only thing I sell are controllers. And I can rest assured I am much cheaper than Lincoln Electric and Hypotherm as far as them purchasing a complete system from that company. However, when I say cheaper, it doesn't mean I'm not reasonable. And when I say reasonable, I'm talking about the characteristics of price versus stability. You're not going to build a plasma system CNC, and I'm talking about the controller, for $100. And if you believe you are, then you're sadly mistaken. That's what these videos are about. I have no jealousy whatsoever. You can look at my sales here on eBay. I probably have some of the best sales ratings you will ever find, considering I've done over 2.2 million in sales. And it's validated to all of these guys that say that. If they did any true justification of what they're actually looking at and understand the gravity of how hard that is to do, factor in all of my sales come usually from either finding me on YouTube or finding my eBay store. So think about that for a minute. I'm willing to put my money where my mouth is. None of these content creators do that. You know why? Because they realize they're in a field they really don't understand, as I've said before.
And We're also listing the parts, the switch, the e-stop, the aviation connectors, everything you need if you'd like to build a professional box like this.
Did everyone catch that? Especially all those ones that leave the comments talking about a hobbyist machine. Oh, he's just releasing a hobbyist machine so everyone can afford it. Complete, utter bullshit. You just heard him say, we're listing all the components, meaning the switches, the e-stop, and everything, so you can build a professional box like this. He considers this a professional box. You all heard it. So for all the ones that have left comments or made these accusations about hobbyist and professional machines, I'll state it again just so everyone understands. When it comes to robotics, there is no such thing as a hobbyist or professional machine. Let me explain this clearly. A hobbyist expects a circle or square to be cut no different in diameter than what he programmed, no different than anyone owning a commercial machine. Now, there's a lot of misconception that the size of the chassis dictates that it's commercial or not. Once again, bullshit. Why? Because I have guys that are dentists who can build teeth, and when they're manufacturing teeth with either a 3D printer or micro mill, they're doing it and still selling these products as a direct consumer consumable. So when you think about that, it has absolutely no weight whatsoever as far as the size of the machine. Do you know what makes the machine, regardless of size, the most important? The most powerful tool of all, our mind. That's what makes it powerful. I could give a guy who understands machining and who understands how to make money with this equipment the smallest machine there is, and he will make money pending the machine has a stable controller and performs as a consistent production robot. These guys that want to bullshit you and consistently tell you just fabrication after fabrication, and that's really what it is, it's all bullshit to make sales. They don't know how to make sales legitly, because if they did, they would stay in their own field and not drift into other fields. Haven't you noticed most of these guys' channels, they don't stay in one area. They go from one area to another area to another area. Do you know why? Because they try to be a jack of all trades, and that old saying, a master of none, and that's exactly what we have here.
Or you can just go out the schematic and build it however you want to. But we're giving you this template. We're showing you how to lay out the components inside the box, where to get the box on Amazon. All that stuff will be included in it. So guys, there's a quick...
Well, he's left all the affiliate links, and the only thing left for you, of course, to do is either do your homework before you spend your money, or spend your money and wish for the best. He might be there to support you, he might not. Let's move on to the next content creator.
Electronics. I know the electronics can be a little intimidating, but the plans given, they do an excellent job of walking you through step by step.
This clip has to be one of my favorites because I found something on YouTube I've never seen done before. Not in this capacity. And I want to get your guys' opinions on this because I doubt many of you have seen this done before. But it confirms what I've said about marketing strategies, and I'm going to put it up right here. Now, we all know, or should know, this controller is mimicking virtually everything we've seen in the past from these content creators in this video. That's the whole point of this video. What you haven't seen is just how bad they are with their marketing in terms of being unscrupulous to market towards virtually every novice they can that these are the systems they should go with because, again, it's an ultra cheap CNC plasma system, supposedly, and it's supposed to work when, of course, we can see an Arduino here and we see the same BS that we've seen in the previous videos. Check this out. All right, this one is unique. And I wanted to bring this to all your attention because many of you may not have seen this before. But I want to just show you how strong their marketing strategy is. And once again, you can ask yourself if they really care about the end users that they're marketing this stuff to. Because again, is it just about sales, or are they really trying to help the community by benefiting them and offering them, as I typed here, building a CNC plasma table for around $500? You can see that this channel is called Yes Welder. It's based around welding. Matter of fact, a particular video is a fundraiser. It's got 556,000 subs. Now you can see this excerpt is actually what's in my video as far as the clip. Now I was going through YouTube. I noticed something that's very strange, and I want you guys to pay very close attention to this. As I come over here, there's another channel with 2,300 subs called Harbour's Workshop. Isn't this clip amazing? I mean, they actually match. Two totally different channels, and one has 556,000 subs. Once again, one has 2,300 subs. These are exactly the same clip. The gentleman who's in this video is the exact same gentleman, and his channel, Harbour's Workshop, he's the actual one that's in the other video on the channel with 556,000 subs. And to prove that, I'm just going to silence the audio so I don't get any copyright issues. We're going to come over here. There he is. There he is. 556,000 sub channel, 2,300 sub channel. Boy, that's interesting, isn't it? It's interesting how they know how to use these type of clips, and they market themselves to a community, hopefully drawing in novices, because novices are the ones that would assume that they could build a CNC plasma robot for around $500. The question once again is, if these people that are novices have problems with these controllers that are supposed to be controlling these subpar CNC plasma systems, where do they go? Because this is all based on affiliates. So they have no support. They'll end up in some forum, and usually the blind leading the blind once again. And there's no arguing this, guys. To anyone who hates me, it's pissed off from my channel, you can see that this is all real. I'm going back and forth to show you. This is exactly the same. As a matter of fact, they even put their own little watermark based on their channel. So again, very interesting to see. There's certainly no disputing that whoever put up those videos wants to get that to a large audience. And now we can also see, here's a new content creator. Once again, system's looking very similar. Let's let it go on.
You'll hear the stepper motor driver run. And you'll see the motor run. So inside the box you have a power supply. This one here, as you can see, Chinese crap, but it's a 24 volt, 21 amp power supply. It's 21. They recommend 15 amp, but I got 21 amp because I'm running two Y-axis drives off it, and the X and the Z axis off it as well. There is a little Bluetooth charger down here, so you wire that Bluetooth charger into your connections on the 24 volt side of your power supply. That little Bluetooth charger, you can see the cable rolled up here. It then plugs into your ESP controller. You can see it down there. I have an extra one here, so I had a few issues.
Isn't it funny how the content creators, not all of them, but some of them, talk about how this is Chinese crap or this is inferior, yet they put it in their system, and what they fail to realize, obviously, is 95% of all electronics in their system is made overseas. So, once again, lack of knowledge. Then we come over here and we see that he's using Bluetooth. This is a question that comes up periodically on what these guys think is a more stable signal format. Here's what Google says, not me, on Bluetooth being susceptible to EMI, just to set the record straight and understand exactly what we're looking at. And just to be very clear here, make no mistake about it, that system has no grounding, no shielding. Everything in this system is once again mimicking what we've seen in previous systems. As a matter of fact, this channel is also the one that represented an earlier video that I discussed in this video, where he titled it $165 plasma CNC system, the cheapest, this, that, and the other thing. The bottom line is, guys, these are repetitive. They're very repetitive. They follow a same pattern, and you can see here, these controllers, they will get you into trouble. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
Issues on the way, along the way, wiring this whole system up. My wiring inside, it's not terrible, but at the time, when I was working on it, it was pristine.
I love how he says his wiring at the time was pristine. And apparently his eyes may not be working, that he actually has leads in his system that are just dangling around and not connected to anything. I've seen this before. I don't understand the logic. Again, guys, this is far from pristine. Without using the proper double shielded cables, these systems are very, very susceptible to EMI. I've said this so many times, and once again, we just keep seeing the same redundancy. These guys do not understand what they're playing with, or they don't care. And realistically, if they don't care, that's fine. Once again, you want to build a contraption for yourself because you're a tinkerer and you're okay with the system sometimes working and sometimes not, that's fine. But don't market it on your channel as what others should or could be using, because as soon as you do that, then you start saying, hey, you know what? I know what I'm doing, and you guys can get the same results. And they don't know that for sure. So think about that. Would you buy a car if you didn't know if it would drive, yet someone's portraying it will? That's what these guys do. You don't know this guy. You don't know if all this content they're producing is accurate. You just know that he's showing this, and if it worked for him, I'm going to try it. Do you know if the video was edited? Do you know how much editing was done? We don't know when he started filming and when he stopped. Think about what I'm saying. That's the difference between buying peace of mind and buying some half-cocked contraption by a guy you've never met and who's telling you, hey, you can do this. I've said this in previous videos. I'm going to use a real simple point of logic here. I'm not saying at all that the larger companies, once again, the corporations, Lincoln Electric, Hypotherm, all the companies that sell these in a commercial format, talking about CNC plasma robotics, they do have overhead. They do make a large profit. There's no denying that. I've said that before. But there is a reasonable amount that one should expect to pay for a stable production robot in any genre. That means plasma, mill, router. When you start getting into these dollar amounts, the only way you could ever come close to that, and it would actually be legit, is if you have all the equipment, you have all the knowledge, all the proper cabling, and all of that knowledge, once again, driven around not just the mechanics of the table, but also understanding how to do the grounding and everything else that is required to get that chassis stable. And this is where the BS lies. I've said this to you before. Don't pretend to build a house online, because there's going to be professional contractors like Mike Holmes that will look at what you do and will say, wait a minute, this isn't right. Now, in some things you can wing it. There are some fields you can get by with. You can make a mistake painting. Most of the time, that's not going to hurt anybody. But when you start pushing stuff and you start saying, hey, you can build this for this price, which we all know is BS anyways, because they always try to play down the price. Oh, it's $400, it's $500. Most of you already realize plasma systems by themselves usually cost that, even the cheap ones. So we already know that's bullshit. But then as it keeps going and they still say, oh, you can use this, and my wiring is done right. Look at this. It's ridiculous. Anyone who doesn't understand these electronics and are marketing it in the sense that, hey, this is what I did, you can do, I cannot emphasize enough. You are setting yourself up for a lot of problems. And this budget that they always give, these ultra low budgets, that's just the beginning. Meaning, as soon as you start incorporating the EMI, then we start losing time. Then we start going through, okay, what's causing this? Well, it worked yesterday. It's not working today. Do you know how many questions I get asked like that? Where guys will say, hey, you know what? My router's working, blah, 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 blah. And then they go, well, do you have an idea of what it is? Hell no, I don't have an idea what it is. Am I sitting in front of your machine? No. I mean, you have to think logistically. Do you ask your mechanic, hey, my car is making this noise? Okay. Bring it in. Well, you have to hire me for a consultant so I can go in and actually remote access your system to see what's going on. Guys, there's no way anyone can diagnose a system. Why do you think it takes so much time? If they're not there in front of it, that's what makes this field so complex. And keep in mind like this. Just like a car analogy, there are a lot of systems in your vehicle. There's a lot of variables with these robots. You have software, you have PC, you have dealing with the chassis, you have dealing with the controller, and then all the components that make up that controller. Think about what I just said. I mean, it's crazy that guys think that this is a simple endeavor. And I've said it before. If that was true, how come we see forums so packed with nothing but problems? I've had this issue, I have that issue. And if these guys actually solve the issues of the past that they didn't arise again, the forum itself would stop. I'm bringing up pure logic now, guys. The fact of the matter is these people practice the definition of insanity. And when I say that, they think because their system cut for whatever length of time, it doesn't matter that we do things right, that we do things safe. No, we just do it because we can say, hey, this is it. I didn't pay that much. And they'll never tell you, well, if the machine crashes in the sense that it's not stable and it can't produce, I'm okay with it. Say that. Don't sit there and post videos and lie to people, and that's exactly what they do. If you're okay with your machine being unstable, that's fine. Then you be unstable. But don't market unstable possible machines to other people because all it does is hurt their pocketbook. All right, so this content creator wants to convert his CNC router to a CNC plasma cutter. Now, not too big of a difference if the controller is built correctly. Again, the chassis naturally has to be able to support a plasma, which should never be an issue because routers are built more robust as far as their chassis than a plasma system. But if you guys review the controller here, and this is extremely critical, you're going to see the consistency of what these guys do in the patterns of this video. How they build, how they think, and you're going to see this for yourself. Once again, he's using a standalone controller. It's irrelevant. The principles are all the same. EMI is present regardless of a standalone controller, an individual drive system, or an integrated drive system. So keep that in mind. Let's see what he's got.
Material detection functions, and G-code format were all things that I basically had to figure out on my own. Since, at the end of the day, the original router was just a CNC machine, the overall function of the machine hasn't really changed from its original configuration to now. I was able to remove the spindle power.
Now you guys have seen multiple systems all following the exact same build pattern. These content creators literally learn from each other, pass on this information from each other, and regardless of it's right or wrong, this is what they post. You can see it here. No double shielded cable used for EMI mitigation. No passive filtration using ferrites. There's absolutely no regard to grounding, no regard to using the proper enclosure because again here we see a plastic one which cannot be grounded. But again, they want to work with CNC plasma systems. They truly do not understand this genre and they should not be posting videos of incorrect practices which will hurt end users if they follow them by leading up to an unstable system. Now, the reason none of these guys come forward and say anything is because they know that what I'm saying is absolutely correct. They feel that because they'll tell you, hey, this is not a machine I'm using to make money with, it doesn't matter. You shouldn't expect your machine to be stable. That's ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous. The application of the robot should not dictate how it's built. It's either right or it's wrong, and it's regardless of whatever end user decides to do with it.
Supply and a few accessory components and just leave the X, Y, and Z stepper drivers. And make whatever changes I want whenever I need. The entire machine being built and wired by me means that I know all of the ins and outs of its design. That makes troubleshooting fairly easy.
I never get tired of hearing how these content creators try to dumb down something complex. They make it sound like because they've built it, which of course he's built it incorrectly, now he's able to troubleshoot the system. Really? Because it's weird how DIYers usually are what makes up most forums. I'd say 98 to 99% of them. You don't find Lincoln Electric or Hypotherm commercial grade plasma systems in those forums. You find the guys like this who assume I have motion, the system's set, I'm good. And that's exactly where this goes. And I'm telling you, be careful, because anyone who's run any CNC robot will tell you when the robot is unstable, nothing is more frustrating because you have to go through and basically chase your tail. Now, we already know he built this controller incorrectly. So essentially, he's got to do a complete system rebuild to get this back to where you have peace of mind knowing, hey, all bases were covered. The system's grounded now. The chassis, we didn't even get to his chassis. If it's not grounded, you're in that situation as well. Think about what I'm telling you guys. There is a right and a wrong way to do things. And if your money doesn't matter to you, then go for it. I mean, you can say you saved this much money if the robot produces. But if it doesn't, then you're in his boat and you can sit together and talk about how easy it is to troubleshoot your system.
There's no better feeling than DIYing a machine that so many people pay thousands of dollars for.
Yeah, so many people pay thousands of dollars for, because if it was so easy as he says, then they wouldn't be doing that. The reason that they'll pay thousands of dollars is because they expect consistency. That's the whole idea of owning a robot.
While also having a much deeper understanding for how and why everything works as it does. There are many issues with this design, and if I was designing this machine from scratch, it would look very different. Its design and functionality comes from necessity and not intent. I put very, very little money into this project, and I did everything I could to reuse the components that this machine came with. I'm not using shielded wires or intricate grounding for the machine. I'm not using industrial components, and there's no way this machine would last in a commercial environment. But that's not the point.
Did you hear how this guy put this together? I mean, he is ultimately trying to sell you on how little he paid for this robot to be converted. And reusing parts, that's absolutely fine to do if the controller is built correctly. But he openly admits, I didn't use shielded cable or intricate grounding, and then he tells you this would never last in a commercial environment. What? Why would you be proud of that, number one? And number two, as far as it being used in a commercial environment, I know many plasma end users that are past clients that use machines easily as robust and as rigid as this router conversion, and they make a lot of money. I don't know what the hell he's talking about. The bottom line is, guys, what makes robotics successful is the mind behind them, not the fact that you need a $50,000 or $100,000 machine because of its size to work with it. I've seen guys buy literal toys in the size of their frames and make tons of money. It depends on what they're doing and how well they understand what they're working with. This gentleman obviously has no idea what he's talking about, and to openly admit to doing things incorrectly, almost as if he's like saying, hey, I did this in your face, I can save this much money, and haha, you paid this. Really? Are you serious? I mean, I wouldn't be bragging about that. Everything you've just done and openly admitted to is incorrect. And your content is actually going to hurt your audience if anyone follows these practices, because in the end, you can't guarantee everyone in your audience that's running a robot like this, following your practices, will have a stable robot. That, to me, and to many of the people watching this, means you're liable. You're saying, hey, this is a great idea. And then all of a sudden you hurt people, because then they go and spend the money, as I've said previously, and then they get a paperweight. And who do they go to? No one, because you're not there. You're just a content creator, and that's what you hide behind. Think about what I'm saying, guys. And this is a great place to end the video. Once again, it's a longer video, but I think I've made my point. You've seen how these guys think. And this video tops it all when a guy is bragging about doing things incorrectly. Thank you all for your support. Take care.